Support the channel on patreon.com/manlightfoot.
This one is a bit of a more symbolic question. Maybe it's putting you on the spot, but I do want to ask, what is the Owl House?
I think it's
Well, we finally made it. The last season of the Owl House. It's kind of crazy to think that a show with only 3 seasons could have such a strong impact. But we've seen that before with stuff like Amphibia and even Avatar. The good one.
Got it!
But the Owl House is a special case due to the fact that its 3rd season was cut short, sadly. What makes it stand with other examples, though, is the impression it left. In a small amount of time of just 3 years, this show put a mark on the zeitgeist that could take a bit longer to leave. But it's not hard to imagine how it did that. From all the characters' unique dilemmas to pushing progress on ways LGBTQ+ issues can be written in family entertainment, there are no doubts about the way this series impacted people. The characters spoke to people by touching on the idea of growing up and wanting to escape to your fantasies. We see the harshness that can come from that sort of mindset. And trust me, they make these characters live with that harshness. Can't count how many times Luz's life was put on the line. But you know what they say, trauma builds character. At least some insane people have told me that. It certainly got people talking that it's been a minute since we last saw something like that happen. This last season, I believe, brings everything home by nailing exactly how the characters process everything going on with them. We get the conclusions to the arcs that were purposely set up. And I think it's time to give it the spotlight it deserves. So I'm doing it like the last few times, but it'll be a bit different. Each section is going to be focused on what happened in each special versus just what's been happening in each character across the board. But let's not waste any more time and light these glyphs. Let's see you come up with a better segue.
You must have been friends forever.
I think this might be the worst week ever.
No more hiding, okay?
But if it weren't you, it would have been someone else, and then there'd be no one left to fight back.
I know what I have to do now.
The first special did have a lot to live up to, unsurprisingly. It basically had to reintroduce the dilemma the characters are going through, as well as establish the new problems they all have to face while making sure it all connects succinctly. With it being the first one, you could imagine it being nervous, like if you were the first to present your school project. But I don't know why you would imagine that, since it's just a TV show and not a person. Seek help if you are. But for real, the special was able to get the audience on board with the premise through a pretty good montage. It does its job well by getting you up to speed on everyone and their adjustments to the human realm. Would have loved to see maybe a quarter of season's worth of those adventures, but you know, we're not allowed to have nice things.
I hate it here.
Though a guy named Toon for Thought came up with a cool idea where we could get like 2-minute shorts showcasing that stuff. It would be pretty cool, I'd be down for it, but I digress. Major revelations are made through this montage. One of the biggest being that Luz actually came out as bi to her mom and revealed that she's dating Amity. It's played fairly small and quick, but it gets across the message that parents should be accepting of their children, normalizing it and moving forward without any preachiness. This even speaks a bit to how Camila is actually more accepting of who Luz is and what she cares about. We'll dive more into that angle in a few. We see the constant failed attempts at making a portal and how the Owl Gang is getting used to Earth culture.
Yes, Queen.
It's very much assumed that they haven't been on Earth for too long, with them showing up at maybe around the end of the summer, but it gets across that it wasn't too hard for them to get somewhat accustomed to things. Keyword somewhat. They also subvert things by keeping the gang out of school. Most other fantasy shows would just have them attend with Luz and get into all sorts of mischief, but they avoid that since time is of the essence. Just pretty good storytelling in only a short amount of time. The special itself gives some more on the Owl Gang's adjustments to being in the human realm. It's done in a montage form, but it's fun to see. That girl's just having too much fun, I tell you. We see the gang on their mission to find what they can on making a new portal. The things they do somehow match up with the dangers they face in the Boiling Isles, even proving why giraffes were banished to Earth. I knew we couldn't trust those long-necked jerks. While they go on this search, we even find out more about Belos's backstory, or more or less the full clarity of events that went down with him being jealous of his older brother Caleb, who got with a witch and even going as far as killing him.
Damn!
Pretty dark, yeah, but that's honestly expected. Hell, we even see Belos possessing animals to keep himself alive, and they don't spare the details of the destroyed bodies that get left behind. Sadly, we could only get so much of V, but she's still adorable as always.
Tres tristes tigres comen en tres tristes platos de trigo.
Perfecto! You're our top student.
Yes, Queen.
From what we do get, she at least seems to be seen as part of the family. Would have been great to see if there could have been some tensions between her and Hunter and Amity, considering Hunter was part of the Emperor's Coven and Amity did get hurt by a basilisk, so that would be something that I wish we got to see, but what they could do was still nice. Just V being part of the group with no hassle. I'm always here for more V. It's made clear how the events of what happened in season 2 are weighing on Luz. She starts looking far more unsure of herself, cementing more how that happy-go-lucky team we see at the beginning is basically gone. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that her character changed, but more that she had to grow up. This further pushes the narrative through line that's been running through this whole series. Luz was a protagonist that just wanted to have a fantasy escape like one of those YA novels she reads, but what she got was a reality check that made it very clear that you might not actually want that. And it's honestly amazing to think that these books that she was given were given to her by her late father. It's the last connection she has to him, so you really understand why she would want to escape to this whole fantasy realm stuff, because it's the last gift from her dad. That's really heartbreaking when you think about it. But reality did have to come crashing down on her. She thought it would be fun and games and making some friends and having cool adventures, but what she didn't realize is that in those novels, people get hurt and sometimes even killed. So wanting that type of adventure means getting exactly all the positives and negatives. She has to experience everything that her escapism would entail. Kind of a subtle message to those that want to only fixate on the escapes. It's all fun and games, but that's all it is, fun and games. If it were real and you were the main character, you would be pretty miserable like the main characters you're fans of. We see the full extent of this with how she's trying to hide the fact that she unknowingly helped Belos in the past. Luz's guilt about her and Belos goes as far as her wishing she never even existed, which can be summed up to her wishing she was dead.
They should hate his guts, and it would be better if he literally never existed.
Oh my god!
Yeah, they go that far for Luz, saying her friends would be better off if she didn't exist. Not better if they never met, but better if she wasn't alive. It's dark, but it gets things across at how dire she feels about herself. But you can't blame her for feeling this way since she feels she's the reason for everything going wrong, including the horrible dictatorship that plagued the Boiling Isles for decades. That's gotta be a heavy mental toll that she's carrying all on her own. But the thing for her is that she has her friends there to tell her exactly what she needs to hear. They give the truth that at the end of the day, it wasn't her fault. Literally anyone could have been tricked by Belos, and whether or not she went into the past, it doesn't really matter. He would have just found someone else or discovered the light glyph on his own and found the collector at a later date in the past. It's made clear that her friends are with her no matter what, and that's something she doesn't have to worry about anymore. But it seems it doesn't stop her from thinking about staying on Earth, but we'll touch on that later. With everything that goes on with Luz, it's a good reason why she's a strong subversive character, because of the reality check aspect to her and how the crazy events she's gone through affect her. It fully comes to a head when you get to her relationship with Camila, but we'll get into that in the next special. But speaking of Camila, there there's some interesting revelations we learn about her. For instance, we were made to believe to a degree that she really wasn't too much on Luz's side, but a nightmare she has tells us that she was very supportive of Luz's weird behavior. She would easily go to bat for her daughter.
Gross, now everything smells like lunch meat.
Yeah, she's such a tryhard.
Oye, what did you just say?
Just being a very protective mom who will beat down a mother. It showcases that Camila was always sticking up for Luz, but the situation we saw at the beginning was just a case of Luz taking things too far and needing some form of punishment that encouragement wasn't going to help with. To go on a side tangent, this is why it was some weirdo behavior that people were calling Camila a bad mother for going with sending Luz off to a summer camp. She just had to do what she thought was the right thing to do since Luz was endangering people. It's just crazy that people thought Camila doing that was terrible, but let's face it, y'all would do the same if y'all were in her shoes, cause again, Luz released snakes on the school. Camila is a widow/single mother taking care of a child with very hyperactive tendencies. You can't imagine how hard it must be for her since she wants to stick up for her daughter, but sadly has to remember that other people exist and you can't just do things that mess with them. So you're getting that major struggle of wanting to look out for your kid, but having to think about how they affect the world around them. But thankfully, this special knows this, and we get a feeling of Camila going along with Luz's adventures in the Boiling Isle. They get more into it in the next one, but for this one moment towards the end, it tells you that Camila understands Luz's want to be in the demon realm and even encourages her to go back and face Bellows. Obviously to protect her child, but also recognizing this is something very important to her. Not to mention the fact that a bunch of people are gonna die if they don't stop him, but one problem at a time. It gets across that she's far more understanding of a mother than you would expect. But certain things we learn a bit more about is Hunter. At this point, he's a big ball of nerves with everything going on. Something that haunts him is the fact that he's a Grimwalker.
The what?
Basically a clone of Bellows' brother and meant to act as a substitute body for Bellows. He chooses to hide this fact from the group to the point it just creates so much stress. Thankfully, he gets some form of levity with the fact that he's considered family by Luz. It's bringing happy tears to his eyes just how much he needed an actual friend group. It's giving a smidge of a follow-up on what Darius told him in season 2, to actually be a teenager rather than some soldier blindly following orders. It's just great to get that follow through on this, but sadly it can't all go right for Hunter with the fact that with stress comes some mistakes. He doesn't even keep his wits about him when he goes touching some mysterious goop on the floor with an open cut. Come on, man, it's just unsanitary. Because this, Hunter ends up being possessed by Bellows, who was just that form of goop. It ends up leading to Bellows injuring Flapjack and then basically killing Hunter when he leaves his body, causing Flapjack to sacrifice himself to save Hunter. He was truly a good bird. This plays into how serious the situation has gotten. Now that they had to experience the loss of their friends, giving them the true conviction they need to finally go and stop Bellows and save the Boiling Isles, taking us right into the next special.
You guys mean the world to me, and I didn't know how to say that yet.
This is the goodest I felt in forever and ever!
My biggest mistake was trying to protect you.
I think I just realized something.
The second special certainly had some criticisms hurled towards it, mostly ranging from it seeming like it was fairly middle of the road, which it kinda is since, you know, it's the middle, but it does have some good revelations that keep things moving in some form. Now, one thing that I made clear in each video talking about this series is that it likes to do subversion. There's no exceptions here. For instance, you would think they would do the whole gang comes back to their home world and find it destroyed and there's a resistance mounted to fight back the tyrant, but here a group is formed by the students of Hexside, but they're mostly just hiding out mainly due to their leader's incompetence.
Allow me to introduce Student Body President Basha and her trusted guards Mickey and Roka.
Welcome to New Hexside.
Who's Basha, you might ask, if you're new here? Well, she was the bully character in season 1, but she ends up taking a backseat in the second season to the point that you forget she's there sometimes. So it's kind of a case that you might be surprised that she even returns at all and is made a big problem. It's one of the criticisms against the special. We spend time on this conflict with this character who was essentially a glorified jobber. She was just the means for Willow to overcome her bullies, which she did. So it feels a little weird to give her a prominent role here. Even weirder that Kikimora makes a return, taking on the role of the lackey to Basha. I don't think anyone wanted any more from this imp after everything that happened in the last season. Honestly, this all probably would have worked better if Basha and Kiki were given redemption arcs or more to do in general, but again, time is of the essence and the crew weren't given a full season, so you work with what you got, which still turned out pretty good for everyone else. For instance, we're given some time to King and the Collector. The Collector warped the entire Boiling Isles into some child's fantasy place that looks like candy and drugs had a baby, so basically edibles. This also results in people being turned into toys that the Collector plays with. It mainly takes effect when the Collector is present and goes away when he leaves the area, save for the toys which he takes back to his castle and just puts them in like a toy box. With the Collector doing this, it obviously is a problem, so King does his best to mediate the Collector a bit. King keeps the Collector somewhat subdued by playing a made-up game that retells the Owl House adventures he and Luz went on in a very fake way. It's all done in a way so the Collector doesn't go on some rampage destroying things because he got angry or just smashing things up just because he thinks it's fun. Cause again, lest we not forget, he basically is a god. But that is what's fascinating about them. They're just some kid who knows not what they do. All that power and all they really want is to not feel alone. It makes it a bit heartbreaking for them when you know they cling to King because King can relate to not having anyone in his dilemma.
The Collector is just a little kid. A scary, powerful one, but also sad and alone. I don't know. This whole time I was scared of making him mad, but I think I can relate to him.
It's why you would be of the mind that the Collector isn't someone who needs to be destroyed or sealed away again, but rather someone who just needs a friend, even if his original purpose was to be a tyrant like his book alludes to. He's just a lost child. They could have easily been a villain that just needs to be stopped, but they went with a good nuanced approach that makes you sympathetic to their problems, but understanding that what they're doing is wrong. You even see that it takes manipulation for the Collector to want to cause harm, with Bello spreading misinformation to them. The special also gives an update on what's going on with Ida. We find out that she managed to avoid being turned into a toy and is now missing an arm and her hair is shortened. Geez, a lot did happen to her. Also, Lilith is okay and got a haircut and has her natural hair back. There's not much done or given to them here, but that's probably more safe for the finale. We do get a little more of the Owl Gang's personal problems though. Willow is seen as more of the rock of the group, even though she works with plants. Thank you, I'll be here all week. But enough shenanigans. Willow is the emotional support of the group, but what they do here is actually address the one question you would have about that. Who's the emotional support for the emotional support? She puts on a front pretending that everything is all good, but deep down she's scared. She wants to put on this facade for her friends because she knows they have their own struggles and she just wants to be strong for them and be there for them, but in the end that only hurts her. We see this manifest with her powers going awry because she hid away her emotions. Thankfully, Hunter is there to calm her down and tell her that she can't just hold things in. This grew a bit from her wanting to see Hunter happy. Hunter is hurting because he lost Flapjack and won't admit that's what's bothering him by pushing through the mission. It all ends up hurting them, but they learn that hiding your feelings is never the right way to go. Willow and Hunter support each other through this roughness.
Huh? Thanks for what you said back there. You mean a lot to me, too.
Cool. Happy to help.
I ship it. But now we come to Luz, who got a major revelation. For all this time we spent with her, we found out the problem that's been at the core of her was simple but very effective. Luz had struggles fitting in with many teenagers and just didn't know how to express herself in a way that wouldn't hurt others. She couldn't see eye to eye with her mother, which caused a strain on their relationship. She lost her father and processed that by reading fantasy books that he gave to her and just clinging to that and only wanting that to be a part of her life. She couldn't find a friend group to call her own until she went to the Boiling Isles, and even then it was a struggle for her to fit in that much, but she still had the friends she needed to find. What she goes through internally was something so many of us had faced when we were growing up. We learned this when Camila finally sits down with Luz and talks to her about how even she was an outcast when she was young, revealing she was a nerd and wanted to escape to her fantasy books just as well. Luz understands this and has her biggest revelation.
The only thing I've ever really wanted was to be understood.
This is something that hits pretty hard. We all had the problem of wanting to find somebody who was like us or just gets what we're thinking a lot of the time. We even hope for that the most when it comes to our own parents. Cause let's face it, it always seemed like a given, but reality usually tells some of us otherwise. So for it to be Camila that perfectly gets this weird side of her daughter, it's a perfect sticking of the landing. This culminates in Luz getting her palisman that she named Stringbean. Of course, with knowing how accident-prone Luz can be, that should put some fear in everyone, especially with how powerful it can be, even making it so Luz has magic without limits. That's just terrifying.
Why does that make me nervous?
And now that most of that is squared away, the gang is ready to face off against the Collector. And it's time to get into the real meat and potatoes that is the finale. And here we are at the pinnacle of this series, the ending, the finale to it all. And it feels all too surreal that we're finally at the end point for this show. Just amazing. Wait, why are y'all looking at me like that? What do you mean my outfit changed? Y'all are crazy. For real though, this was the finale that brought everything to a head. Gives as many resolutions as it could from a series that sadly was cut short. And you know what? It may just be the finale for the ages. It throws the audience for a loop by having all of it start with the Owl Gang getting kidnapped and separated. Luz King and Ida are then thrown into these dream states where they're shown their worst fears. I said worst fears, not something that's gonna put them in a coma. Nah, they're shown their loved ones and Bill for reasons where they're being berated and chased. They go through this mental torture as a means to just keep them at bay. It's all done to set things up for something later, as well as for the Collector to try and teach them some sort of lesson. With the help of their friend's advice to use the light glyphs, Luz escapes and helps King and Ida wake up, and they're finally reunited after so long.
Is this real? Is that Luz? Are you both really here?
Get over here, you witch!
Come on, y'all, come on.
Will, why are you crying?
Oh no, man!
It's a truly good reunion that we've been waiting for, especially with how the episode plays out with it just being these three handling all the problems that's going to be facing them later. The Collector puts them through a series of challenges which also shows off their Pac-Man fever. Guess Pac-Man transcends dimensions. Who knew? But they give up fighting the gang, and it's here we learn about his backstory.
You go down there and see if the Titans want to play! But the archivists were scared of their power. So one by one, they disappeared. Until there was one Titan left. He hid his egg from me and trapped me!
Learning this about them makes everything all the more clear. They basically were just a victim of circumstance. They weren't just an apathetic child, they were locked away from people who would have taught them all the right things. Of course being trapped for so long messed them up, because all they wanted was a friend, and yet they got unwarranted hate because something their siblings did. It truly was just a case of they know not what they do. They share a lot in common with the Owl Gang with the fact that they were abandoned and misunderstood, which makes their turn towards good all the more reasonable. Which we have to address by addressing the big elephant in the room, Bellows.
You suck!
Bellows has been slipping his way through the boiling aisles like the slime that he is, trying to find a sustainable host. He worked his way into the Collector's palace and found Rain and possessed them. Then he worked that manipulative mouth of his on the Collector to sow doubt about King's friendship. The Collector lets it slip how powerful the Titan is and he's still alive. While the Collector is handling the Owl Gang, he goes off to the Titan's heart and takes it over.
Finally! I can cleanse this perdition myself!
Get the fuck out!
Yeah, he goes on his last bastion against the demon realm, becoming this abomination that puts this coral stuff all over the place with his mouth beam.
Gross.
Now with this, the Collector takes it upon themselves to try to reason with him since he learned that being kind is better than forcing people to do what you want. It doesn't go well. You know, good effort, but yeah, Bellows is a psycho kid. That just wasn't gonna pan out for you. This results in Bellows shooting a beam at the Collector, but it gets intercepted by Luz.
No. Wait.
Luz sacrifices herself, which plays into how she would do whatever to protect those she cares about. We saw this in season 2's finale when she tried to do the same thing, but this time there was nothing stopping her. Because of this, she actually died. Man, these Disney shows really do love to kill their main characters. It's kind of a crazy trend that's been going on lately. Don't know why. But now we get absolute fury coming from King and Ida as they go full beast mode and try to destroy Belos to no avail. It genuinely was gut-wrenching to watch them just sit there in shock that their friend who they cared for and loved so much die in front of them. It really just speaks to how well it's animated. You just see all that heartbreak on their faces. It just hangs on them. Later, we end up finding out Luz technically didn't die per se, but was sent to that in-between space from before. There she actually comes across King's dad, the original Titan. He reassures her that she is nothing like Belos by bringing up a good point.
Don't these feelings come from the same place?
You assume Belos' goal comes from a genuine place. But that man doesn't care about anything but his need to be the hero in his own delusion. And because of that, he fears what he can't control.
This makes it abundantly clear that Luz is nowhere near Belos. He is a man who has too much sense of self-importance. He wants to control everything, which always results in nothing but destruction. It encapsulates why Belos is a horrible person that deserves everything that's coming to him. The Titan then gives Luz some words of wisdom that's a spin on what Ida told her in the second season of the series, solidifying that you gotta make your own destiny. Nobody can tell you how it's supposed to go, and you can't wait around for it either. But sadly, his spirit can't live on with Belos corrupting his body, so he gives Luz his powers temporarily, and what follows is just unadulterated badassery. Luz ends up getting a Titan form, which just have to say,
Yas Queen.
This allows her all the abilities of her glyphs and to be able to combine and just use a lot of very destructive magic to wreak havoc. Luz, Ida, and King team up and start wreaking havoc on Belos all throughout the Isles. This is significant because it's just Luz, Ida, and King, just like it was at the beginning of the show. This trio's been through so much, and it feels like just a major release as they go through destroying Belos, the man who caused so much of their problems. The entire sequence should be studied with how much it's happening, from Luz finally doing magic without a glyph to all the animation popping off. It's just pure Sakuga type animation going through, and it's amazing to watch. It's just pure spectacle. You cannot hate it. If you do, you just lost your dreams. Okay, you just did. I mean it, it's insane how they keep this looking so fluid throughout the whole fight. Just pure culmination of all those previous times where the animation was hitting extra hard, creating the most satisfying scene in the series. It ends with the Owl Trio defeating Belos, where we get this moment of Belos trying one last lie to save himself.
Yes, I was cursed with a terrible, terrible sickness by dark magic, just like your mentor.
It forced me to do all those horrible things. But now I'm free.
No, you lie! You lie!
Yeah, he really tried that crap. Thankfully, we get the second most satisfying scene in the series.
Stomp 'em in the nuts. We'll stomp 'em in the nuts. We'll stomp 'em in the nuts. I'ma stomp 'em in the nuts.
They made sure he got the ass whooping he deserved. Cause let's face it, he was an awful person who deserved exactly this type of death. With Belos finally dead, peace is restored to the Boiling Isles. We get a final epilogue with the gang older and better places than before, with the final meetup of everyone at Luz's Quinceañera. Something that was always an idea for them to do, but we sadly couldn't get until now. It all plays like the perfect final note to a symphony. It's especially nice with the option they went with by giving Luz the best of both worlds. She gets to live in the human realm and visit the demon realm whenever she wants, and later on gets to live there entirely to attend college. Feels like the right approach for everything this series was building up to. You just have this feeling of gratification for all these characters and what they went through, and were able to come out of it all the better. We got so much from them, even though this show was cut short. The development all turned out great. It encapsulates the idea of prioritizing what you think is important for your story and characters and all the arcs you're trying to portray. It really is kind of a masterclass in doing that. It may have only been 3 years with this series, but you feel like it's been so much more, because this show gave so much more, and that all comes from just how this series wanted to break so many conventions from the genre it participated in. Owl House is something that managed to go beyond. Thank you for that very unnecessary distraction. It went further than many would expect a Disney series to go. We've gotten plenty of shows that were able to shake things up for the most part, but Owl House feels like the one that took things to its proper apex. No other show on Disney was able to touch upon LGBTQ relationships like this show has. There were some that tried to push where they could, but this one gave us a proper case with Luz and Amity's relationship. They knew not to make anything hinge on this couple. We could have them just stay friends and it would change nothing in the story, but with them making it more personal problems for the characters, it allowed it the ability to develop properly. We get the ups and downs of Luz and Amity being together without petty drama. They're a great example of having romantic elements in your story without it feeling like it's just going nowhere or it's bloated or anything like that. Dana Terrence said herself that she didn't want a romance saga, and the way they're written, it shows. Their relationship feels genuine. It gives off that energy of two teenagers trying to figure out their relationship. No unnecessary drama or anything. We even avoid the unnecessary mess of having the will they won't they aspect. They get together fairly early on and we see the relationship actually play out, whereas others would leave it as a happily ever after by the end. It plays out as an actual relationship, and I think that's very important to actually see that for a lot of teenagers watching. Of course, it's not the smoothest, but they work past the problems through proper communication. And that's the heart of the problems that they face, communication, which translates as one of the major themes for this series actually. Luz had problems expressing herself, which resulted in travesties against some people.
Oh, that's where the backup snakes were.
Seriously people, snakes don't belong in schools, just bear with me on this please. For real though, Luz was someone who had the problem of just being misunderstood, and from watching the series you realize all that needed to happen with her is that she just needed someone to talk to her. Camila did drop the ball on this by not just sitting down and actually discussing things with her. She had revealed earlier that she went through the same type of hardships that her daughter was going through. She could have avoided a lot of the problems Luz had in the school. This even applies to Ida, the owl lady. She kept things hidden from her own friends and family, and all that did was cause more pain for both her and them. She lost Rain, the love of her life, all because she didn't want to be honest about her curse. If she just opened up, Rain could have potentially helped her through it. Maybe even helped her find a way to gain some control over it sooner. Probably could have gotten her hot form faster. It also serves as an allegory for chronic illness. I'm glad they didn't do anything in the end to cure her of this, because that's how chronic illness can be. It's not something that can just be so easily cured or anything like that. For many who have it, you just have to manage with it. But coming back to Luz, it stands to reason that she should have talked with Ida and her friends about what happened with Bellows. They would have given her the proper advice way sooner and eased her mind. It all comes down to being able to communicate with one another. This show went past its expectations on this fantasy genre, breaking from fan mindset and even the category itself. Luz is a modern character in the fantasy genre that learns that escaping to your fantasy is not good for you. You gotta be able to face that reality you're going through. It's okay to want to escape, but running away is never the solution. But you don't have to face your reality alone. Even if you don't have your own friend group, you'll find one eventually. That's a lesson that stands at the core of Luz, that you'll find people who can understand you. She embodies finding your identity, but you don't have to find it right away. You're allowed to take your time. We see that with her. She struggles to know what is it she actually wants. Miniseries make sure the character finds themselves either early on, but this show made it a theme that lasts throughout to the end, giving Luz every kind of depth that you wouldn't expect, but you can easily relate to. The show breaks convention with Ida. She could have been the typical mentor that dies just to help the students resolve, but instead she has her own unique backstory. It actually is explored in full, and we see the consequences of her trying to run from it. It works as a good lesson that it's better to face your past rather than run away from it. Luz and Ida are sort of two sides of the same coin. That's why it's so satisfying to see them alongside King beating down Bellows. How often do we get the mentor fighting alongside the student in the final battle, as well as sort of the mascot character? Speaking of which, let's face it, we all thought King was going to be a simple sidekick mascot character, but he grew to break that mold. Usually mascot or sidekick characters are just your typical comic relief, but he proved to be different. He ended up having some level of complexity with him not knowing who he really was, finding out that he's actually a bigger piece in this whole entire puzzle. And you know what? It all works for him. We see his reaction to everything, and it's what gets you behind him on figuring this all out. He's super sympathetic, going past the preconceptions we had about him. This even applies to all the side characters, honestly. Lilith felt like she would just be the simple evil sister gone good, but she's just a pure being through and through. Seriously, her loyalty to the Emperor could have had her stay along with Belos for a minute or have her work as a spy like they seem to be building towards, but instead we get her having to regrow her relationship with Ida and lose, making herself the cool aunt.
A bad girl historian like myself is all about taking risks, so let's boogie down to History Town.
Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping, spectacular, never the same, totally unique, completely not ever been done before.
AG Marvelous. She proves why she can work with the Owl Gang, making it clear that she should be there to help alongside them, that she was in the wrong place the whole time. And of course, how can you forget Hootie? Just a plain amalgamation of who did it and why. Honestly, you would think someone like him wouldn't be able to work in the series, that he'd be the one thing that drags the series down, but he's genuinely a very likable character that you can enjoy. Honestly, you would have thought he would have been more of the most useless characters, but it's like, no, he's actually a very pivotal character. He helped with the development of a lot of our main characters. He's the one who got Lumity together. He's the one who helped Ida realize she can actually work with her curse, and got King to realize there's more to him than he actually knew. Honestly, it's just amazing how he turned out so well and just ended up being a massive subversion of a sidekick character. Though I'll admit, I'm still curious as to what exactly he is. That's just the one thing that's going to haunt me for a while, because I just need to know, what is he? You also have the friends who all have their own personal problems going on that help flesh them out outside of the main conflict. Willow struggles to prove that she's worth something. She ends up showing that she actually is possibly one of the strongest of the group. Gus doubts his own abilities and needs the support of his friends, showcasing how you can't get into your own head. It's honestly amazing how they showcase that. Hunter was played into that Zuko type, but easily comes into his own as a character with how he faces his betrayal from Belos. Not to mention his connections he's able to make with the Owl Gang. And then there's Amity. She could have been a simple love interest with not much going on and always just being based around what the main character's doing, but you know how this show do. She became an example of how to do a love interest, having her own problems dealing with them and finding herself and breaking away from her corrupt mother. She had that sour attitude of thinking she's better than others, but actually grew to be better than who she was, which speaks even more to how strong the romantic angle of this series is. Of course, you also gotta think about the side characters that all pop in and leave a very strong impression. Everybody loves V. Ida and Lilith's mom leaves a good impression and easily adds some depth to what's going on with their backstory. All these minor characters, from Principal Bump to Bartholomew to Basha to the twins and everyone else, they just add way more to this world. It makes it very clear that it's like, yeah, there are very much problems and dilemmas that these characters are going to go through, and they're going to be fleshed out using these side characters as well. Then the Collector, who comes in later in the series, turns out to be a perfect case of someone who knows not what they do. They didn't know about the concept of death and just thought they were having playtime with everybody. Even King caught on to this and understood they didn't need to be killed or anything, they just needed a friend to show them right from wrong. With how they are, they play the role of someone who is redeemable because all they needed was love and compassion. They were just ignorant of the world around them, which plays to the opposite of Belos, who was just plain stupid. Speaking of which, of course you gotta talk about the villains, particularly the one. Belos was an evil mother that made it clear he should definitely be taken seriously. From the way he went manipulating everyone to playing the long game in his horrific scheme, a pure bigoted jackass that gains no sympathy. Even in his final moments, he couldn't let his hatred go. It just shows that racism is an ugly thing that needs to be snuffed out because all the pain and suffering it can cause. It usually ends up creating very fascist regimes that just cause a lot of harm and kill innocent people. And obviously, with the way Belos was running his empire, that was just what he was planning to do, especially with his plan. It was just to commit genocide. And seeing how this show played everything out, you see exactly why bigotry cannot stand and why it cannot be allowed to bloom. There's honestly a fine line between being ignorant and being stupid. He's stupid because he knows what he's doing is wrong, but he doesn't care. He's just stuck in his own delusions. A thing I would like to think about Belos is that even with knowing what happened to him, he is still not supposed to be a tragic villain. He killed his own brother because of his bigoted mindset. He caused all the problems the Boiling Isles ended up facing based on his hatred for a group of people that really didn't do anything to him. They were just living their lives. lives. He deserved everything bad that happened to him, but that's what makes him a good villain. He's a villain that leaves a strong impression because of how he holds a mirror up to people who can't change. A monster through and through that has to be snuffed out, especially with his straight up creep factor. Speaking of which, the look of this series is something that definitely won't be forgotten. The dynamic look and feel of the Boiling Owls makes it a place you want to know more about. That mix of horror elements creates such an odd and eccentric creatures that probably haunt your nightmares.
Give me your skin!
You're no chosen one!
I think I just myself.
This is certainly gonna go down as one of Disney's best looking shows, I can guarantee you that. But this show goes beyond all the elements it utilizes. The fandom has got to be one of Disney's most passionate in a minute. Sure, they're a bit questionable on certain aspects, but that's neither here nor there. We're not getting into that. The many cosplays you see, the fan edits, theories, all of it. They show a deep connection to the show because of how it carried itself and who it was able to speak to. Not to mention a few people who were fans of the series who went on to actually work on the show. Many flocked to it because of the central message of finding your own friend group and finding yourself. It spoke to so many people in a genuine manner. But don't just take my word for it.
The Owl House is a pretty special show for me. I have been pretty much obsessed with the show for the last 3/4 of a year. Doesn't sound like a lot of time since I know it started almost 3 years ago. Try to really key in on that word. Obsessed. I don't think a day has really gone by since King's Tide that I haven't thought about this show in some capacity. I get the feeling it's one of those shows I'm always going to remember and come back to. This is something I'll actually get nostalgia for. And if anyone who ever actually worked on the show comes across this, thank you so much for what you've done. I love this, and I am so happy you decided to make this show, or work on it, or do anything in relation to it. It's amazing.
Hello there, this is Emily. I just wanted to say a big thank you to the Owl House and their crew, Dana, the storyboarders, designers, and everyone that works on the show, especially the animators overseas. I'm really glad you guys all managed to get your credits at the end, at the very end, but at the end, everyone individually named. And I would just like to say thank you to the show who helped me carry me through a pandemic, who carried me through a year of living in the shelter, a year of just going through the craziest parts of my life as I left my household and became an independent person. I now live in my own house, and I even managed to travel to Mexico to go and see somebody that I had met through the Love of the Owl House. So I'm so happy and just so thankful. So thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Chris Richards, and I'm a fan of the Disney Channel animated series, The Owl House, and I just want to say I am going to miss this amazing show on Disney Channel. I wish it was never canceled. I wish there was more adventures for Lucy, Eden, and King and all their friends. And I just want to thank Dana Terrace. I want to thank Dana Terrace and her crew and her cast for making this amazing and wonderful show. And I hope you guys help me great success in the future, making more cartoons. What I really love about this show is that it's the characters, the story, the world building, especially its diversity with its neurodivergent and LGBT representation. For me personally, I'm autistic, and I can relate to especially the two main characters, Luz and Ida, because they're very wonderful and heartwarming.
Express how much this show has helped me, and I am thankful for it just existing. The Owl House is my favorite show I've ever watched, my biggest interest in anything ever. Besides it just being an amazing show, it's helped me a lot in real life. It was one of the few things that helped me get through COVID, and still really helps today. It was the reason I made real friends for the first time in like 4 to 5 years, and it got me closer with my mom. It also helped me realize I could be neurodivergent. This show also is the reason I came out to my friends and family, and it's the first time I saw such amazing LGBTQ+ representation in media, specifically for kids. I cannot put into words how much I love and adore this show. It would be impossible, but I hope I can at least show part of my love the show in the video. This show has been a wild journey and I am so grateful for it. I love everything about the show, from the characters, the plot, the animation, voice acting, etc. Thank you, Dana, and thank you to the crew and everyone who's worked on the show. And thank you, Owl House. You were an amazing show that's helped me and many others, including people I know. I will miss you, but I'm so grateful and thankful that you have been here. Thank you to the Owl House, thank you, Dana, thank you to the crew for this wonderful show.
So, as this is a thank you to the crew, I thought it best to be in my Owl House gear. And I just wanted to say thank you to the crew and thank you to everyone who's worked on the show. It means the world to me. Like, I'm so happy this show exists, and I'm so grateful for the representation that's in the show that allows me to, like, be seen in the show. And also, you know, it's just a great show!
I first heard about the Owl House back in 2019 when I first started watching Amphibia, so I kept up to date with it ever since. And then the first episode finally aired and I was absolutely in love with it. And I've been watching the show ever since. This has been one of my favorite shows for the past 3 years, and to see it end is just a bit weird, but hey, nothing lasts forever. Too bad Disney cut it short, but hey, at least we got it all, and that's what really matters in the end. So yeah, I just want to give a big thanks to Dana and the crew for making the show possible in the first place. Then close off with the wise words of Moist Critical. That's about it. See ya.
When I first started watching The Owl House, I was 11, now I'm 16, and I still love the show. It is the best show to come out since Gravity Falls. And I just wanted to say thank you to Dana Terrace and anybody who worked on The Owl House, and even though Disney canceled it, thank you for even giving it a chance.
It's really hard to have to say goodbye to The Owl House. After being such a huge part in my life for such a long time, saying goodbye isn't easy. But as cheesy as it sounds, the memories will be there forever. I have so much gratitude for this show, for this crew, and for this community. Every time I came across a new theory, a piece of fan art, a new secret detail nobody's found before, my face would just light up with glee. So thank you all, to each and every last member of the crew, for creating such a stellar show with such lovely and memorable characters, and for making such a positive impact in the lives of so many people. And with that, I guess all that's left to say is, bye!
Hey there, I just want to say that The Owl House has been a show that I've watched since 2020, and it has dug deep into my heart as one of my favorite, and it is also the reason why I'm bisexual. Well, made me realize that along with Steven Universe, but yeah, that's basically what I have. I also have to say this. Thank you, Dana Terrence. Thank you, everybody who worked on the show, from the storyboard artists to the executive producers, production associates, animators. You all rock. You all deserve a nice, relaxing break. It is much needed because you guys work so hard into making this show magnificent. So, thank you all. We love you. Have a great day. Bye.
When Thanks to Them came out, a friend of mine who is 27 and non-binary talked to me about this episode, and they said that they wish they had this show when they were a teenager. So thank you, Owl House. Thank you for giving a voice to so many people who were previously clamoring for this kind of show. Thank you so much for inspiring so many people, young and old, and giving them a chance to actually see themselves.
Thank you so much, Dana Terrence, for creating the show, the Owl Crew, and the characters that they created. This show filled a special place in my heart, and I'm gonna miss it when it ends. And to all the misfits out there, the misunderstood, and the weirdos, we stick together.
The Owl House is a production that was never afraid to be bold and adventurous. It's a brave endeavor from start to finish, and the recognition that its fans give it is nothing to laugh at. Despite its truncated run, The Owl House managed to tell a story that was full of thrills, chills, wit, imagination, and vulnerability. Luce, Ida, King, and the rest of this colorful cast will always have a place in my heart. And while I hate to see it go, I'm happy that I got to spend this time with it. Thank you to Dana Terrace. Thank you to the marvelous crew that made this show happen. You guys are the best. I have endless appreciation for you.
This show means so much to me and to many other people. I can't describe in the perfect words how much this show has helped me get by like these last few years. And just seeing where it started to now being here to witness it finally being over, it's surreal. So many characters having all of these relatable moments, just told in such a beautiful story. Seeing Luce and how much of her and the rest of these other characters just have all grown on this journey, it just brings me so much happiness. I only hope that more people who have not watched the show yet get on it immediately, because they are really missing out. I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you to Dana Terrace and the Owl House crew for what you have given us. I just hope you all can continue to thrive in the future on future adventures, on whatever it is you all plan to do from here on out. I'm wishing you all nothing but success. Thank you again so much.
I just wanted to say thank you to the Owl House. It was like, and thank you to the crew. It was like a truly magical show which every episode was like an event, and like all the theories and all the representation and like all the things will always have a special place in my heart. Seriously, no cartoon can do it like this one.
So much work gets put into animation. Stuff we do know, don't know, and as we grow older, get more appreciative the more we do learn about animation. And Owl House is definitely one of those shows for me, like many others, that will stay in my head for it because it's so fantastic. The magic effects, the animations, the character designs, everything that went into this show. The hard work, the dedication, the blood, sweat, and tears to get us these many quality characters and their stories, whether they were told or untold. I would like to thank the entire Owl House crew for giving that to us, because it's just going to stay in our heads for years, older and the younger generations. Thank you, Owl House crew. We appreciate you and all the hard work you've done.
Thank you, Dana Terrace, and thank you, the amazing Owl House animation crew. You guys have made such a big impact on so many people's lives, and you've just done so much amazing things with representation and just everything. We just want to say thank you, and these years have been so amazing, and the Owl House may be ending, but it's never gone. It's made such a big impact that it's just so amazing. Thank you, guys.
Hey everybody, Julian here. I am a storyboardist, writer, delved in a bit of voiceover. I have been a fan of Dana Terrace's work since 2015, before the show even got announced. And as soon as the show got announced, I knew it was in for a treat. I've loved every bit of it, from the story, the characters, the lore, the worlds, the fantasy stuff. I'm a huge sucker for fantasy stories, especially like if they have creatures or animals. Bonus points that they also incorporate like horror, supernatural elements in there too. The crew crafted such a wonderful like show, from the writers, directors, and storyboardists. Special shout out to the voice cast as well, especially my boy Zeno Robinson. So love you, dude. You are absolutely phenomenal. This is your best performance ever. Little sound in the show got shortened a bit, but for what we got, they still made a wonderfully crafted show, and I'm gonna miss it so much. I would love to get to work on shows like this someday. So again, thank you to Dana, the cast, and the crew for making such a wonderful show.
Thank you to the Owl House team for creating such a wonderful show. We're really gonna miss it.
Hello, my name is Nick Eberly from Powell, Ohio, and I just want to say thank you to the entire Owl House crew, to Dana Terrence, to Rebecca Rose, to Sissy Jones, and to everybody who has worked on the show. It means a lot to me, especially for someone who is autistic, and I feel represented by Luz Noceda, and I really love everything about the show, from the characters, to the atmosphere, to the lore and the secrets, and I feel like there's a lot more world to explore, and I'm sad that the show is going to go, but I still am grateful that it exists, And I hope Dana Terrence, whatever's the next chapter of her life, that she gets the opportunity to make a comic series, whether it be a prequel, a sequel, or even some scenes that has never gotten to the TV screen. But other than that, thank you, everyone. I love you, and I'm just gonna end this here. Okay, bye!
Hey everyone, Justin here. Just wanted to take a minute to give my thanks to the Owl House and everything the show has meant to me over the past 3 years that it's been airing. It got me through some very hard times, especially during the pandemic. It's just been a joy watching the show grow and just get better and better with every episode, every season. Just the amount of heart, the representation the show has to offer, its writing, its characters, their development, following Luce, King, Ida, Willow, Hunter, everyone else has just been amazing. And I can't thank, Dana Terrence and everyone who was involved in making this masterpiece of a cartoon for their hard work. So I'm gonna miss it. I really wish it could stick around for more longer than this, but thank you, the Owl House, just for everything you've done for me.
The Owl House is a modern classic. Incredible animation, voice acting, storytelling, character writing, and direction overall throughout the entirety of its run. And I personally think the show ended off with a massive masterpiece bombshell that will go down in history as one of the best endings ever. Make sure to push the agenda to put this show onto other people as soon as you can. Thank you, Dana, and the entire Owl House crew for making this show one of the best shows I've personally ever seen. And although the adventure is over, I can't wait to rewatch it down the line with other people and convince them to enjoy this story as much as I and many other people have. Once again, from the bottom of my heart, that sounds strange because of what happened in the episode, but with that being said, thank you, genuinely.
And Dana and the crew, I would like to thank you for putting all you can in these final 3 episodes. I know it's not a lot to work with, but you still did it somehow. And the first 2 episodes, they were amazing, and honestly, they could be one of my favorites. I love the originals though, obviously. And I'm sure episode 3 will not disappoint. I'm really excited to see it, and I would just like to thank you for everything you put into the show. It's brought joy to a number of people, including me, and it's changed a lot of our lives. So overall, thank you for everything you've done for the Owl House.
Thanks, Owl House, for being such an amazing show. I thought you were just gonna be another amphibian clone, but you proved me wrong and gave me one of the best watching experiences I've ever had. So, thanks, Dana Terrace and everyone else, and I hope you go on to make even more great products than this one.
That Owl House finale, right? Anyway, what you see now is my remade art of Lose that I made back in 2018 that I made last year. Anyway, shout out to the Owl House crew for using what they had left at the time they had to craft this finale. It was a pretty good watch and pretty memorable one at that. Anyway, shout out to the crew, the writers, the artists, everyone who made this show special. This is for you. See ya. Peace.
Heyo, Tune for Thought here. The Owl House is a show that, from the start, has gripped me to heights few others have matched. From the unique yet easy to follow magic system, to the large assortment of comfort characters that were a blast just to follow, to the gripping escalation of the larger plot that by a point kept the show in my brain about every single day. And of course, the pure inclusivity of it all. Witnessing everyone who felt seen and rewarded by it, just such a sight to behold, man, especially for fellow neurodivergents like myself. And the only real disappointment is that we didn't get more of it all, but that's neither here nor there. So for that, I'd like to say, thank you Dana Terrace for delivering an experience unlike any other, and may you see greater success in your future.
I would say it's a sanctuary for the weirdos. And it started as a sanctuary, and I think it became a home. That's how I feel about it.
I think the Owl House is definitely about just people who don't feel seen or understood. It's like their space. And it's so cool to see so many people resonate like the show and like be like, yeah, I've never felt such representation in my life, and it's like, wow, it's amazing. I'm happy for you, because like I understand what it's like to not feel seen. Like I feel like we all everyone knows what it's like to not feel seen, and I think like the Owl House just does such an amazing job at letting people know that you can find your family and there is a place for you somewhere. Like you are worthy of love, and you are worthy of being a part of something, you know, or you belong anywhere you want to belong.
It's just like finding your people. Like, I think that's like the biggest thing. I think that reflects in the show itself and just this crew. You know, us weirdos gotta stick together.
I started this series back in the very first episode that was released in 2020. Literally was my first review video for that year. Since then, it has gone on to be one of my all-time favorite series, period. I put a lot into showing love to the show, be it including awesome clips of it and AMVs I make or video series I made on it. I started this video series as a means to show how this was not some typically animated show. I wanted it to be known that this series was different, that these characters are different, that this story is different. I want to believe I was able to do that, honestly. I have a love and care for shows that have come and gone, but this one spoke to me in a different way. I have a deep appreciation for those that can come and break the mold. This show spoke on so many things that are real to a lot of us. Be you LGBTQ, or someone with chronic illness, or someone who just wants to be understood by your friends and family. It spoke to finding your true identity and being true to yourself no matter what. And that spoke to something in me. I always want to see people be allowed to express who they are no matter what. I don't like it when I see others just being put down for being who they are, especially if what they're doing and who they are doesn't really conflict with anybody else and they're just minding their own business. This show was the epitome of fighting against conformity and more. Sure, we can be mad that it got cut short. We can be mad that there are certain threads that we wish could have been explored more, but when it came down to it, the crew stuck to what was most important for the main characters and the story. They prioritized the heart of what makes this series so special. That's a level of storytelling that deserves all the flowers. The Owl House was something that started a movement for so many fans. It connected to them on a deep and personal level. It made many feel seen. That power that this series is able to have is something I have the utmost admiration for. It is an exemplary series that is definitely going to withstand the test of time. It's not just a thought when I say.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To be a part of something that makes a positive impact in people's lives is just so special, and you know, we're appreciative to be a part of it. Whatever people give to us, we give back, because it's just such a fun project to be a part of and experience.
When I was watching Steven Universe when I was 15, 16, whatever, like I hope that's the same feeling that they're feeling, like seen and heard and like appreciated, like because we do appreciate like the fans.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for making the merch, the fan merch as well.
Thanks for the fan art, thanks for the engagement, and like thanks for making it trend on Twitter like every week. Thank you for telling your friends. Thank you for being so excited about it. And yeah.
Okay everyone, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3!
Bye.